My family gave my sister a food truck for Christmas. They gave me $3 in a jar. Then, at my cousin's wedding, I brought the jar back. My sister got a food truck for Christmas. A real one. White paint, new tires, stainless steel counters, a pink logo on the side that said, Brooke's Sweet Street Bites. There was a giant red bow stretched across the windshield. My parents stood in the driveway crying like they had just handed their youngest daughter the keys to heaven. I got a mason jar. Inside were 3 $1 bills. $3. My mother smiled and said, "It's for your future house fund, honey. Every dream starts somewhere." Then my sister Brooke looked at the jar, looked at the truck, and laughed. "Don't worry, Hannah," she said. "Maybe one day you'll have a porch big enough to park my truck in front of." The whole room laughed. My father laughed. My mother laughed. Even my aunt covered her mouth like Brooke had said something adorable instead of cruel. And the worst part, 3 months earlier, I had sent my parents $2,400 because Dad said they were behind on property taxes. That morning, standing in their driveway, I realized the pink logo on Brooke's truck cost almost exactly $2,400. So no, my sister didn't just get a better Christmas gift. She got a dream partly paid for by my sacrifice. And I got $3 in a jar. That was the moment I finally understood something I had spent 35 years trying not to see. They hadn't forgotten my worth. They had decided it. And to them, I was worth less than the bow on my sister's windshield. Christmas morning in my parents' house always smelled the same cinnamon candles, burnt coffee, artificial pine, and the kind of tension everyone pretended was tradition. The living room was small but packed. Cousins on folding chairs. Wrapping paper everywhere. My dad's recliner angled toward the tree like a throne. My mother walking around with her phone taking pictures of Brooke from every possible angle. "Hold the keys higher," baby mom said. "I want to get the truck in the background." Brooke lifted the keys and posed. 32 years old, glossy curls, full makeup, one hand on her hip like she was standing on the cover of a magazine. Dad stood beside her, proud enough to burst. "That truck is going to change your life," he said. Brooke squealed. "I know. I can finally stop working for people who don't understand my vision." She had worked at a bakery for 6 months. I had worked in an emergency room for 11 years. But in my family, Brooke was the dreamer. I was the dependable one. Dependable meant invisible. Dependable meant no one clapped when you survived. Dependable meant everyone assumed you would keep giving because you always had. Mom turned her phone toward me. "Hannah, move a little to the side. You're blocking the truck through the window." I moved. That was my role in family photos. Not missing, just pushed out of the center. Brooke twirled the keys around one finger. "They even filled the gas tank," she said, "and paid for the first 3 months of parking downtown." Dad smiled. "Starting a business is hard. We wanted you to have a real chance." A real chance. The words landed quietly but deep. I looked down at the mason jar in my lap. It had a red ribbon around the lid and a white sticker with my name written in Mom's curly handwriting. Hannah's Little House Fund. Little. Even my dreams had to be small in that house. Mom noticed me staring. "We'll open it properly," she said. "Don't just sit there looking gloomy." I unscrewed the lid. The 3 bills slid into my palm. 1, 2, 3. Dad chuckled. "Now don't make that face. You're good with money. We knew you'd appreciate something practical." Brooke dropped onto the couch beside me, smelling like vanilla perfume and expensive hairspray. "Honestly, you should be happy," she said. "You don't need a big gift. You like being practical." "I don't like being forgotten," I said before I could stop myself. The room shifted, just slightly. Brooke raised an eyebrow. "Oh, come on, you're not forgotten. You're just not dramatic." Aunt Linda laughed softly. Dad sighed. "Hannah, don't start. Don't start." That was what they always said when I stopped swallowing something. Mom's mouth tightened. "This is a happy morning. Don't make it about comparison." Comparison. That was another family word. When Brooke got more, it was support. When I noticed, it was comparison. Brooke leaned back against the couch. "You're established anyway," she said. "You have your little hospital job." My little hospital job. The same week, Brooke called my work. The hospital thing, I had trained 3 new nurses calmed a father in the trauma bay after his son was brought in from a car accident and stayed 2 hours late because an elderly patient didn't want to die alone. That job had just promoted me to nurse supervisor. That was what I had planned to announce that morning. I had practiced it during the 5-hour drive from Columbus. I imagined telling them over coffee. Mom smiling. Dad saying, "That's my girl." Maybe Brooke making a joke, but a harmless one. Instead, I sat there, while my sister called my life small in front of everyone. Dad waved his hand. You know what Brooke means? You're stable. Brooke is still building. She's always building, Aunt Linda said. Creative people need support. Creative people. I wondered what responsible people needed. Sleep, maybe. Respect. Someone to notice when they were tired. 3 months earlier, Dad had called me about the property taxes. Hannah, we hate asking, he had said. They always hated asking. They never hated it enough to stop. I sent them $2,400. I told myself it was for the house, for the family, for peace. Now I looked outside at the custom pink logo on Brooke's food truck and felt something cold open inside my chest. Brooke leaned closer. Don't worry. When I'm famous, I'll give you free cupcakes. Then she patted my knee, like I was a child, like I was lucky to be included. I looked at my parents, waiting for one sentence. Brooke, don't talk to your sister like that. Nothing. Dad took a sip of coffee. Mom zoomed in on Brooke's keys. Silence can be louder than yelling when you've heard it your whole life. That morning, I had placed their gifts under the tree before anyone woke up. A heated back massager for Dad, because he complained about his back every Sunday. A wool coat for Mom because she had circled one in a catalog and sighed that it was too expensive. A professional stand mixer for Brooke because she had posted online that real entrepreneurs need real tools. I had bought those gifts slowly, one paycheck at a time. Skipped lunches, extra shifts, no new winter boots even though mine leaked in the snow. And in return, I got $3 and a room full of laughter. Mom called everyone outside for photos with the truck. Hannah, take some pictures for us, she said, handing me her phone. You're better behind the camera anyway. She said it casually, like it was nothing, but the words went straight through me. So I stood on the porch and took pictures. Brooke in front of the truck, Mom kissing Brooke's cheek, Dad pretending to hand Brooke the keys again. The whole family gathered around her dream while I stood behind the camera capturing a moment I was not invited into. Then Mom posted the best photo on Facebook, Christmas miracle for our Brooke. So proud to invest in our daughter's dream. Our daughter, not our daughters. I stared at the caption until the words blurred. That was when I excused myself. I walked down the hallway past the family photo wall. Brooke in a tutu. Brooke at cheer camp. Brooke with a dance trophy. Brooke with her first apartment keys. Brooke holding a cupcake tray. There was one photo of me, my nursing school graduation. I was standing alone in blue scrubs, holding flowers my roommate had bought from a gas station. My parents had missed the ceremony because Brooke had anxiety before a local theater audition. They promised to celebrate me the next week. They never did. In the bathroom, I locked the door and gripped the sink. The woman in the mirror looked calm. That almost made me angry. When you spend your life swallowing disappointment, your face learns to protect everyone but you. I didn't cry. My body felt beyond tears. My chest felt heavy like someone had packed wet cement around my heart and told me to breathe normally. From the living room, Brooke screamed again. They even paid for the generator warranty. Dad said only the best for our girl. Our girl. I looked at myself in the mirror, then whispered, then what am I? No answer came. Because deep down I already knew. I was the backup plan. The quiet daughter. The emergency fund. The one who didn't get rescued because everyone had decided I was built to survive. That night I lay awake in my childhood bedroom under a quilt my grandmother had made before she died. Brooke's old pageant crowns still sat on the shelf. My high school awards were in a cardboard box in the closet. Downstairs, my family talked for hours about menus, business names, TikTok videos, and how soon Brooke could quit the bakery that didn't appreciate her energy. At 2:11 a.m., I sat up. Something inside me had gone quiet. Not peaceful. Not healed. Quiet like a house after glass breaks. I packed slowly. My work clothes. My grandmother's quilt. A framed photo of me and Grandma Ruth on her back porch. A shoebox full of thank you cards from patients and coworkers. I left the gifts I had bought them under the tree. Let them keep the proof that I had tried. In the kitchen, the coffee maker was set to brew at 6. Dad's blood pressure pills sat near the sink because I had organized them the night before. Mom's grocery list was on the fridge. At the bottom in her handwriting it said, "Ask Hannah about cabin gas bill." Even on Christmas, I was a reminder note. I placed my house key on the counter. Beside it, I set the mason jar. Then I took a sticky note from the drawer and wrote, "I am done being useful instead of loved." For a moment, I just stood there. This was the house where I had learned to be easy. Easy to ignore. Easy to ask. Easy to blame. Easy to forgive. Then I walked out. No one heard the door close. That hurt more than the leaving. By 3:04 a.m., I was on the highway. Snow moved across my windshield in silver lines. My 10-year-old Honda hummed beneath me, steady and tired, just like I was. The radio played Christmas music. I turned it off. At 6:18, my phone rang. Mom. For one dangerous second, my heart lifted. Maybe she had found the note. Maybe she was worried. Maybe she finally saw me. I answered through the car speaker. Hannah, Mom snapped. Did you leave? Yes. A pause. Then she said, before you get dramatic, did you remember to pay the gas bill for the lake cabin? Your father can't find the confirmation. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because there are moments so cruel they become clear. Merry Christmas, Mom. Hannah, don't use that tone. I ended the call. The lake cabin was a 2-bedroom place outside Hocking Hills. My parents called it the family getaway. Brooke used it for Instagram photos. My parents used it when they wanted quiet weekends. I had been there twice, both times to clean before other people arrived. The memories came faster after that. My 8th birthday. A grocery store cake and Mom telling me to let Brooke blow out half the candles because she was too young to understand it wasn't her party. Brooke's 8th birthday pony rides a bounce house, a princess dress, and Dad filming every second. My high school graduation, they arrived late and left early because Brooke had a stomachache. Brooke's graduation, a steakhouse dinner, and a charm bracelet engraved with our star. My nursing school ceremony, empty seats where my parents should have been. Brooke's cosmetology certificate ceremony, flowers, balloons, a family photo, and a Facebook post with 12 heart emojis. Every memory had the same shape. Brooke needed attention. I needed to understand. Brooke needed encouragement. I needed to be mature. Brooke needed help. I needed to be strong. Strong. That word had been used like a locked door. My phone buzzed again. Dad, then Brooke, then Mom. I ignored all three. Near Indianapolis, the snow turned to rain. I pulled into a gas station and sat under the fluorescent lights staring at nothing. I had nowhere to go that felt far enough. My apartment in Columbus was safe but too close. They knew the address. They knew how to knock until guilt opened the door. Then my phone rang again. Maya Rodriguez, my nursing school roommate. The person who had seen me study after double shifts, cry quietly in parking lots, and send money home while pretending I was fine. I answered. She didn't say hello. She said, "Where are you?" Indiana. "Why are you in Indiana on Christmas morning?" I tried to answer. Couldn't. Maya. Her voice softened. What did they do? So I told her. Not all of it. Just enough. Food truck. $3. Jar. Laughter. Facebook post. Silence. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Come to Chicago." I can't just show up. Yes, you can. I don't want to impose. Hannah, listen to me. You have spent your whole life being useful to people who call that love. Come here and let someone love you without using you. That broke me. The tears came so suddenly I had to pull into another parking space and press my fist against my mouth. Maya stayed on the phone. She didn't tell me to calm down. She didn't tell me family is family. She didn't ask what I did to cause it. She just breathed with me until I could breathe again. Text me every hour, she said. Guest room is ready. I'm making soup. Soup. You're emotionally destroyed. Soup is step 1. I laughed through tears. For the first time that morning, the road ahead didn't look like escape. It looked like a beginning. 3 weeks later, I was sleeping in Maya's guest room in Chicago, and my family had moved from confusion to outrage. At first, the messages sounded almost normal. Mom, honey. Everyone is upset. Please call. Dad, adults don't run away from family. Brooke. You made Christmas weird for everybody. By the second week, they became accusations. Mom. Your father can't sleep because of you. Dad. You embarrassed your mother. Brooke. People are asking why you disappeared. What am I supposed to say? By the third week, they became threats wrapped in concern. Dad left a voicemail so loud Maya heard it from the kitchen. Hannah Grace Miller. If you don't call us back, I'm driving to Columbus and letting myself into your apartment. We are still your parents. They didn't know I had already spoken to my landlord. They didn't know I had requested a transfer to Chicago Memorial Hospital. They didn't know I had signed a short-term lease on a tiny apartment in Lincoln Square. They didn't know because I had stopped submitting my life for approval. The hospital transfer came through faster than I expected. My supervisor in Columbus hugged me before I left. Chicago is lucky to have you, she said. I almost cried in this break room. Praise still felt suspicious when it came without a request attached. Maya helped me move into my apartment on a freezing Saturday. It was small, uneven floors, a radiator that clanked all night, a kitchen barely wide enough for one person. But the windows faced east, and in the morning sunlight filled the room like permission. I bought a mattress, 2 plates, 1 pan, and a blue armchair from Facebook Marketplace. Nothing matched. Everything was mine. For the first time in my life, empty space didn't feel like lack. It felt like room. Maya also gave me a business card. Before you argue, she said, just take it. I looked down. Dr. Evelyn Price, Family Trauma and Adult Boundaries. I'm not broken, I said. No, Maya replied. But you've been bent around other people's needs for a long time. So I went. The first session I talked about Christmas. The second, birthdays. The third, graduations. The fourth, how every compliment in my family came with a job attached. You're so responsible, Hannah. Can you handle this? You're so patient, Hannah. Can you forgive her? You're so good with money, Hannah. Can you cover it until Friday? Dr. Price wrote something down. Then she said, it sounds like your family confused your strength with permission. That sentence stayed with me. They saw that I could carry weight, so they kept adding more. In February, Brooke posted a picture in front of the food truck. The caption said, building my dream from scratch. No handouts. Just hustle. No handouts. The generator cost more than my first car. The parking deposit came from my parents. The logo may have come from the property tax money I sent. I stared at the post for a long time. Then I closed the app. Silence used to feel like guilt. Now it felt like a locked door. But my family didn't let the silence stay clean. By March, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years started messaging me. Aunt Linda said your mom is devastated. Your dad says you moved away without telling anyone. Brooke posted something about people abandoning family when things get hard. Is that about you? I checked Brooke's page once. Just once. There she was standing beside the food truck with one hand on her heart. The caption read, some people only love family when it's convenient. I'm learning who really shows up. Under it, Mom had commented, we know the truth, baby. Keep your heart pure. The truth. That word made me put the phone face down on the table. Maya saw my face and said, do not comment. I wasn't going to. You were thinking it. I was thinking several things. Good. Think them here. Don't feed the circus. So I didn't. I let them tell their version. The runaway daughter, the ungrateful sister, the nurse who thought she was better than everyone after moving to Chicago. Every story needs a villain. For once, I refused to audition for the role they wrote for me. Spring came slowly to Chicago. I joined a Saturday cooking class at a community center because Dr. Price asked what I enjoyed outside work, and I didn't have an answer. The instructor, Mr. Alvarez, taught us bread. Don't punish the dough, he told me, watching me knead too hard. Guide it. Let it rest. That felt too personal. My first loaf was terrible, dense, crooked, too salty. I loved it anyway. By May, I could make decent sourdough. By June, I was bringing extra bread to work. One of the younger nurses, Tasha, bit into a slice and said, Hannah, this tastes like somebody's grandma loves me. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the tray. Piece by piece, my life filled with people who did not need me to shrink. Then in July, the wedding invitation arrived. Cream envelope, gold lettering. My cousin Natalie was getting married in Cincinnati. Inside was a handwritten note. I really hope you come. It would mean a lot to have family together. Family together. Those words sat heavy in my chest. I brought the invitation to therapy. Dr. Price read it quietly. What do you want to do? She asked. I want to go, I said. She looked surprised. Do you feel ready? No, I said. But I'm tired of being afraid of rooms they're in. That was true. I had built a life in Chicago. But part of me still imagined my family as a locked room where my younger self sat waiting to be chosen. I didn't want to wait outside that room forever. I wanted to walk in as myself and leave when I chose. I booked a hotel 10 minutes from the venue. Dad called 3 times insisting I stay at the Airbnb they rented for all the family. I did not call back. Mom texted, "It will look strange if you stay somewhere else." I replied, "I'm comfortable with my arrangements." Brooke texted the next day, "Can't wait for sister time. We have so much to catch up on." We had not had sister time since she convinced me to put a couch delivery on my credit card and then forgot to pay me back for 8 months. I didn't answer. Then Aunt Linda called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice came through sweet and sharp. "Hannah, honey, I know you're upset, but your mother is fragile right now. This wedding is not the place for one of your emotional stands. Family sticks together. Try to remember that Brooke needed more help because she had a harder path." A harder path. Brooke had a food truck. I had student loans. Brooke had a house full of people clapping. I had empty seats at my graduation. But sure, a harder path. 2 days before the wedding, Natalie accidentally copied the whole family on a seating chart email. There I was, table 3, between Mom and Dad, across from Brooke, a family portrait restored, me placed exactly where they wanted me, close enough to manage, far enough from escape. I called Natalie. "Hey," I said, "I know you're busy, but can you move me to Maya's table?" "Maya," she asked. "She's coming with me." A pause. "Oh, Aunt Linda said you were coming alone." "I'm not." Another pause. Then Natalie said, "Okay, I'll fix it." The rehearsal dinner was held in the back room of a small Italian restaurant with red curtains, family-style pasta, and framed baseball photos on the walls. When I walked in, conversations thinned, not stopped, thinned. Like everyone suddenly remembered they had heard a version of me. Mom turned first. She looked smaller than I remembered. Freshly dyed hair, lipstick too bright, a smile too careful. Dad stood beside her with a drink in his hand. Brooke wore a yellow dress and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hannah Mom breathed as if I had returned from war instead of Chicago. She moved toward me with open arms. I let her hug me, but I did not melt into it. That was new. I could receive contact without surrendering. "You look thin," Mom said. "I'm healthy." Dad cleared his throat. "Good to see you." "Dad." His eyes moved over my dress, my shoes, my calm expression. He looked almost disappointed that I didn't appear ruined. Brooke stepped forward. "Wow," she said. "Chicago changed you. It helped me hear myself better." She laughed like she didn't understand, but her jaw tightened. Maya stood beside me in a navy jumpsuit, steady as a wall. Mom glanced at her. "And this is my friend Maya." "My family," Maya said warmly. Mom's smile froze. The dinner was polite in the way families are polite when everyone knows there is a wound under the table. People asked about my job. I told them I was now training new ER nurses and helping redesign patient intake. Uncle Ray said, "That sounds important." I waited for someone to redirect the conversation to Brooke. No one did, so I kept talking. It felt strange taking up space without apologizing. Halfway through dinner, Cousin Denise slid into the chair beside me. "I probably shouldn't say this," she whispered, which meant she absolutely planned to. "What?" "Your parents are selling the house." I looked across the room. Dad was laughing too loudly. Mom was watching me. "Why?" Denise lowered her voice. "Money got bad. Your dad's hours got cut last fall. Brooke's truck hasn't made anything close to what they expected. They kept covering expenses." I looked at Brooke. She was scrolling on her phone, mouth tight. Denise touched my arm. "I'm sorry, honey. A lot of us saw it. The way they treated you. We just didn't know what to say." I almost laughed. That was the anthem of extended family. We saw it. We just didn't say anything. After dinner, Dad cornered me near the coat rack. His breath smelled like bourbon and peppermint. "We need to talk tomorrow before the ceremony," he said. "About what?" "Family. That's broad." His eyes narrowed. "Don't get smart with me." There it was. The old voice. The one that used to fold my spine, but my spine stayed straight. "I'm available for respectful conversations," I said, not commands. Dad stared at me like I had spoken another language. Then he said, "Your mother cries every week because of you." "No," I said softly. "Mom cries because she's unhappy with the consequences of choices I didn't make." His face reddened. Before he could answer, Maya appeared beside me. "Our ride is here." It wasn't, but I loved her for it. The next morning, rain tapped against the hotel window. Maya sat cross-legged on her bed, eating a granola bar, while I zipped my dark green dress. "You okay?" she asked. Number. Good, honest answer. I looked at myself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly. Not flashy, not timid. It made me look like a woman who had stopped asking permission to exist. In my purse, wrapped in a scarf, was the mason jar. The same one. After Christmas, I had found it in the back seat of my car. I must have carried it out without realizing. Every week since leaving, I had placed $1 inside. Not because of the money, because I wanted a visible record of time. Weeks of not answering guilt. Weeks of paying my own bills first. Weeks of therapy. Weeks of bread. Weeks of sleeping through the night. Weeks of becoming mine. The wedding venue was a converted barn outside Cincinnati. White flowers, warm lights, wet grass. The bridal suite smelled like hairspray and champagne. Natalie hugged me when I arrived. "I'm glad you came," she said. "Me too." Her eyes flicked toward the hallway. "Your parents are looking for you." "Of course they are." She winced. "Sorry." "Don't be. It's your wedding day. Be happy." 20 minutes later, Aunt Linda found me near the coffee table. "Hannah," she said carefully, "your mom asked me to bring you to the sitting room." I looked at Maya. She gave the tiniest nod. Boundaries are not walls, Dr. Price had said. They are doors you decide when to open. I followed Aunt Linda down the hallway. The sitting room had floral wallpaper, a fake fireplace, and too many chairs arranged in a half circle. Mom sat in the center, tissues in hand. Dad stood behind her. Brooke leaned against the window with her arms crossed. A family meeting. Number. An ambush with upholstered furniture. Hannah, Mom said, voice trembling. Thank God. Please sit down. I'll stand. Dad's mouth tightened. This attitude is exactly the problem. Brooke pushed off the window. Can we just say it? This has gone far enough. I looked at her. What has... You leaving? Cutting everybody off. Making Mom sick. Making Dad look bad. Making me look like some spoiled monster online. I didn't post about you. You didn't have to, Brooke snapped. People figured things out. Dad stepped forward. We're selling the house. I heard. Mom made a wounded sound. That's all you have to say? I'm sorry you're going through that. Dad laughed without humor. No, Hannah. You don't get to act like this has nothing to do with you. It doesn't. Brooke's eyes flashed. Are you serious? If you had stayed part of this family, maybe things wouldn't have gotten this bad. There it was. Not love, not reconciliation, restoration of service. They did not miss me. They missed what I absorbed. I walked to the coffee table and set down my purse. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I brought something, I said. Mom blinked. Hannah, this is not the time for drama. You're right, I said. It's the time for honesty. I took out the mason jar. All three of them stared. Brooke looked away first. Dad frowned. What is that supposed to prove? Nothing by itself. I placed it on the table. Then I took out a small photo album. Not legal files. Not contracts. Not anything complicated. Just memories. The kind families like ours use as decoration until someone finally looks closely. I opened the first page. 2 birthdays. Brooke at 7 under a balloon arch, wearing a princess dress. Me at 8 sitting at the kitchen table with a grocery store cake and 3 candles. Because Mom said the other pack was missing. Mom's face tightened. Hannah. I turned the page. Brooke holding a new laptop before college. Me holding a used backpack Dad said was still perfectly good. Another page. Brooke's food truck announcement post. Mom's comment under it. So proud to invest in your dream. Beside it, I had placed a screenshot of Mom's text from 3 weeks earlier. Can you send $400 for the water heater? We wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. Dad's face went dark. You saved private messages. I saved reminders, I said. Because every time I started thinking maybe I imagined it, I needed proof that I didn't. Brooke crossed her arms tighter. So now you're humiliating us at Natalie's wedding. No, I said. I'm refusing to be humiliated quietly anymore. The room went still. Outside, I could hear bridesmaids laughing. Love being celebrated in the next room while this one struggled to understand it. I turned another page. My nursing school graduation photo. Me alone. Then Brooke's cosmetology certificate ceremony. Mom, Dad, flowers, balloons, a cake, a family photo. Mom began crying. This time I didn't know if it was performance or pain. Maybe both. We had reasons, she whispered. You always had reasons. Dad pointed at the album. You were different. You didn't need the same things. I needed parents, I said. His hand dropped. The words were not loud. That made them land harder. Dad looked away. You were never the kind of daughter we had to worry about. I nodded slowly. That was the problem. You decided not worrying about me meant not showing up for me. Brooke scoffed. You always act like being tired makes you better than everybody. I looked at her. No, Brooke. I act like being tired means I deserved care too. She opened her mouth. No words came. I looked at all three of them. And you needed them to stop confusing attention with love. They didn't help you by giving you everything. They left you unprepared. Brooke's face cracked for half a second before she hardened it again. My truck is failing, she said suddenly. Mom inhaled. Brooke. No, I'm saying it. Brooke's voice shook. The generator broke again. The downtown permit is more expensive than I thought. The lunch crowd isn't enough. Dad said he could help, but then the house. She stopped. For the first time in my life, I saw my sister not as the golden child, but as someone trapped under a crown she didn't know how to remove. That did not erase what she had done. It did not make her my responsibility, but it made the room sadder. I don't know how to do this, Brooke whispered. Everyone kept saying I was special. No one taught me how to be steady. A year ago, I would have stepped forward. I would have offered money, a plan, a place to stay, a piece of myself. Instead, I said, I'm sorry you're struggling. She looked at me, waiting. I added, I can show you how I make a budget. I can't become your backup plan. Her eyes filled with anger and shame. Maybe someday she would understand the difference. Dad sank into a chair. For once, he looked old. "We thought you'd always be okay," he said. That was probably the closest thing to truth he had ever given me. "I know," I said. Mom wiped her face. "We were proud of you." "No," I said gently. "You were relieved by me." Mom flinched. "You were relieved I didn't ask for much. Relieved I solved problems. Relieved I was easy to explain away." I touched the jar. "There are $31 in here now. One for every week since Christmas. Every dollar is a week I didn't let guilt make decisions for me." Brooke stared at the jar. Dad stared at the floor. Mom whispered, "What do you want from us?" That was the question I had waited my whole life to hear. But when it finally came, I realized I did not want what I used to want. I did not want them to clap loud enough to make up for every silence. I did not want Brooke punished. I did not want childhood rewritten. I wanted peace and respect. "I want family therapy if you actually want a relationship with me," I said. "I want no more emergency money requests. No more using Mom's health to control me. No more telling people I abandoned you because I stopped being useful." Mom closed her eyes. Dad said nothing. Brooke whispered, "And if we don't?" I picked up my purse. "Then we don't." That was the strongest sentence I had ever spoken. Mom stood. "Hannah, wait." I turned at the door. She looked at the album, then the jar, then me. "We hurt you," she said. Dad looked up like he wanted to correct her, but he didn't. Mom's voice broke. "We hurt you, and we called it being practical." For a moment, I was 8 years old again, waiting at the kitchen table with a melting cake. Then I was 35, standing in a green dress, with my own apartment, my own life, and Maya waiting outside the door. "Yes," I said. "You did." I left the jar on the table. When I stepped into the hallway, Aunt Linda, cousin Denise, and 2 bridesmaids were standing near the guest book table. They had clearly heard more than they meant to. Aunt Linda's face went pale. She tried to recover first. "Hannah," she said softly, "everything okay in there?" The old me would have smiled. The old me would have said, "Fine." The old me would have protected everyone from the truth. Instead, I looked back at the sitting room door. Then I looked at her. For the first time, I said yes. We finally stopped pretending $3 was love. No one spoke. The whole hallway went silent. Even the bridesmaids stopped laughing. Behind me, Brooke appeared in the doorway, eyes red. Dad stood behind her looking at the floor. Mom had one hand over her mouth. Aunt Linda looked like she wanted to say something about family sticking together. But for once, she didn't. Maya walked toward me from the end of the hall. She didn't ask what happened. She simply took my hand. At the ceremony, she had saved me a seat near the aisle. Natalie looked beautiful walking toward her future husband under strings of white lights. When the officiant spoke about love being a daily choice, I felt those words settle deep. Love was not a last name, not shared blood, not childhood photos. Love was behavior. Love was showing up. Love was seeing someone clearly and not using their strength against them. During the reception, people were careful around me. Not cold, careful. For the first time, I wasn't the family problem everyone whispered about. I was the person who had finally said the thing everyone knew. Dad did not approach me. Mom did once near the dessert table. She looked exhausted. "Would it be okay if I called you next week?" she asked. I studied her face. No command. No tears used like tools. Just a question. "You can call," I said. "I may not answer right away." She nodded. "I understand." I wasn't sure she did. But it was a start. Brooke came over later holding a slice of cake she hadn't touched. "I was awful to you," she said. I did not rush to comfort her. "Yes," I said. She swallowed. "I'm trying to hate you right now because it would be easier." That sounds like something to talk about in therapy. A laugh escaped her, broken and surprised. "Maybe." Then she looked toward the dance floor. "For what it's worth, I remember Grandma Ruth liked your biscuits better than mine." I smiled despite myself. She had taste. Brooke's eyes filled again, but this time she didn't perform the tears. She just let them sit there. "I'm sorry about the jar," she said. I nodded. "Me too." That was enough for that night. 6 months later. Christmas morning looked nothing like the one I had escaped. Snow fell softly outside my Chicago apartment. The radiator clanked. My small tree stood by the window, decorated with gold lights, dried orange slices, and one cracked ornament with my name on it. I had glued the crack myself. Maya sat on the floor wrapping a scarf around her dog, who looked deeply offended. Tasha from work was in my kitchen making coffee too strong for human survival. And Daniel, the quiet paramedic I had been seeing for 3 months, was trying to fix a wobbly chair with the seriousness of a man repairing a bridge. "You know," he said, tightening a screw, "you could replace this chair. I like that chair. It leans emotionally. So do I. We're growing together." He laughed. It was a warm sound, the kind of sound that did not ask anything from me. My phone buzzed at 10. Mom. For months we'd been doing short calls every other Sunday. Family therapy had started badly. Dad quit twice. Brooke cried the first 3 sessions and blamed everyone but herself. Mom tried to apologize and explain at the same time, until the therapist gently told her explanations were not repairs. But they kept going. Not perfectly, not magically, but consistently enough that I no longer expected disaster every time my phone lit up. I answered. "Merry Christmas," Mom said. Her voice was careful now, learning to knock instead of barge in. "Merry Christmas." Dad appeared beside her on the screen. He looked thinner, less loud. "Merry Christmas, kiddo," he said. Kiddo. He hadn't called me that since I was 12. Brooke leaned into frame from behind them. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun. No perfect makeup. No performance. Guess what she said? "What?" "I sold the truck." I blinked. "Really?" "Yeah. Paid off the worst of the debt. I'm working full-time at the bakery again. Taking business classes at the community college." She made a face. "Spreadsheets are evil." "They're honest," I said. She sighed. "Unfortunately." Mom turned the camera toward a cardboard box on the table. "We found some things while packing the house," she said. "Your grandmother's recipe tin. Some of your school awards. Your old biscuit cutter." My throat tightened. "I thought those were gone." "So did I," Mom said softly. "I'm mailing them to you." Dad cleared his throat. "And I wanted to say something." He paused. "I should have come to your graduation." The room around me went quiet, though no one else could hear the call. I sat down. Dad looked directly into the camera. "I should have been there. I don't have a good reason. I have excuses, not reasons." For a moment, all I could do was breathe. The apology did not erase the empty chair, but it touched the wound honestly. That mattered. "Thank you for saying that," I whispered. After we hung up, Daniel walked over and set a mug of coffee beside me. "You okay?" I looked around the apartment, at Maya laughing with Tasha, at the little tree, at the bread cooling on the counter, at the cracked ornament shining under the lights. "I think so," I said. That afternoon, after everyone ate too much and argued about which Christmas movie was best, Maya raised her glass. To Hannah, she said, "Who learned that home is not where people keep your old photos? It's where people make room for your whole self." I tried to roll my eyes. I failed. Daniel touched my hand under the table. Outside Chicago glowed white and silver. Inside my apartment smelled like coffee bread pine and something I had once mistaken for impossible. Peace. The mason jar sat on my bookshelf now, empty. Not because I had forgotten what it meant, because I didn't need to keep feeding it. For months I had filled it with dollars to mark my freedom. Then after the last therapy session before Christmas, Dr. Price asked me what I wanted to do with the money. I thought I would keep it forever. Instead, I used it to buy groceries for the community center pantry. $31 did not change the world, but it changed the meaning. It was no longer proof of what my family thought I was worth. It became proof that I could decide what my pain turned into. That night, after everyone left, I stood by the window with the cracked ornament in my palm. For most of my life, I thought love meant being easy. Easy to praise because I never complained. Easy to need because I always helped. Easy to ignore because I kept surviving anyway. But dignity begins the moment you stop confusing survival with acceptance. Family can be blood. Family can be chosen. Sometimes if people are brave enough to face what they broke, family can even be rebuilt. But it cannot be rebuilt on silence. It cannot be rebuilt on guilt. It cannot be rebuilt by asking the wounded person to carry the tools. Respect is the foundation. Without it, every beautiful family story is just decoration over a cracked wall. I used to believe my worth depended on whether my parents finally saw me. Now I know better. My worth was there when they missed my graduation. It was there when they laughed at the jar. It was there when I drove through the snow with nowhere to go. It was there when I signed my lease baked. My first terrible loaf of bread, went to therapy, answered hard questions, and walked into that wedding with my head high. They didn't give me my dignity back. I picked it up myself. And if you have ever been the responsible one, the forgotten one, the one everyone calls strong, while they keep breaking your heart, please hear this. Being useful is not the same as being loved. Being quiet is not the same as being respected. And being family does not give anyone the right to make you feel small. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave the table where you were given crumbs and build a new one where you finally get a seat. So tell me, if your family treated you like Hannah's family treated her,